Welcome to the OHI podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs, and this is a fan reaction video as Ohio State drops a thriller, an instant classic in Eugene, Oregon yesterday. 32-31. The Ducks come away with a big Big Ten conference win over the mighty Buckeyes, who, for moments in that game, did not look mighty at all. Certain aspects of this game yesterday, incredibly disappointing to fans and I'm sure the coaching staff and players alike. And we're going to dive into those fans' reaction in this video. At every game, we post the final score along with the opportunity for people to write their thoughts on our social media pages, including Facebook and the old X. And that's what we're going to be viewing today as we transition our screens over to what we have in the old Facebook first. All right. So, Facebook was alive and well and hopping, you might say, after last night's game. And let's dive into these comments and react to them and respond to them. Sammy Poston, our buddy Sammy, he's been with us here at the OHL podcast from the beginning. He said we got robbed. There was a second on the clock when Will began to slide. We should have been allowed to make a field goal attempt. We got robbed. Those refs should be fired. Um, it was a very disappointing game in that aspect, Sammy. No doubt about it. You go back to the play before, 2 plays before, I think it was, the pass interference on Jeremiah Smith was questionable. I think there was a questionable fumble call. There was several different things in that game that could have been underlined, highlighted, that I think could have gone different ways based off of your reaction and your fandom of whichever team in that game. I kind of always take it to this aspect of it. If you leave a game in the hands of the refs, you have no one to blame but yourself. And that is the case, no doubt, for Ohio State and Ryan Day, that you left this game in the hands of the officials. Whether we were able to, they were able to watch that and put a second back on the clock or not, I guess that's something the Big Ten and the officiating crew will have to look at. Hindsight's 2020. They may come out and apologize to that. Either way, Sammy, yeah, there's a lot of anger in Buckeye Nation about how that game ended. Jeff says this is what happens when you play community colleges 5 weeks in a row. Penn State should have lost also today with their weak schedule. Well, guess what, Jeff? They didn't. They beat USC. And one play here or there, and it's completely different. So your comment means nothing, nor does it absolutely hold any weight whatsoever. By the way, Michigan State, last I checked, is not a community college. They're actually a Big Ten school. So's Iowa. That's kind of very disrespectful for Iowa. It's also disrespectful to Washington, who Iowa just hammered. So, Mr. Grimdog, you can just take that and shove it. Denny Baum, we will see them again in the Big Ten Championship. Yes, Denny, I agree with you 100%. That is exactly what I believe as well, that there's a very good chance that that these two teams are going to play one another again in Indianapolis. That was my prediction at the beginning of the season. I will stay with that prediction that I believe that these two teams are going to play each other a multitude of times. These are the best two teams in the Big Ten moving forward. You look at recruiting rankings, you look at the most recent history, you look at the way these two schools are projected moving forward. And I understand with NIL and the transfer portal, things can change quickly in college football, but these are the two better teams in college football in the Big Ten. And last night proved that again in their stadium. We'll see if it's different in Indy. There's definitely a path for Ohio State to get there rather easily, actually, if they just win their football games. Ohio State wins out, they're in. They're going to be playing Oregon again, more than likely. And neutral field, maybe a different outcome. We'll see. These are two really good football teams. That was my prediction at the beginning of the year. My friend Justin Bowman. Justin's been a friend of this podcast for a long time. Defense looked pretty bad. Yes, it did, Justin. Oregon left some points on the board too and could have scored 40. They moved the ball with ease all night. And see, that's something that I've been thinking about, Justin. Good point. Thank you for the comment. Oregon went for it on fourth and goal and could have kicked the field goal. They missed a field goal. They went for a 2-point conversion and failed instead of kicking the extra point. That's 7 points right there that they just left on the field. So when Buckeyes fans sit here and talk about one play, Oregon can do the same thing, which has been my point. So you can't break this thing down into to 1 point. So that's a very good observation on your part, Justin. Jim Newton, still a great game. It was a great game. It was a fantastic game. That was a great game for college football. Does it sting that we were on the 1 point loss side of that thing? Yeah, absolutely. But Georgia lost a close game. Alabama lost a close game. Let's see, who Tennessee's lost a close game. So a lot of football teams have lost close games this year. We just happened to lose by 1 point to the number three team in the country on the road. So welcome to the new Big Ten. Welcome to the new college football. This is going to happen more often, folks. Get ready for it. Brian Lee Oberst, defense was bad tonight. Mismanagement of game clock, offense pass interference was costly. The game was set up for us to win. So, Brian, thank you again for your comment. Brian is a great fan and follower of the OHO podcast, and he brings up some very good points. Let's talk about the defense first, Brian. Holy cow, the defense looked bad. This was the worst defensive performance I can remember since the Georgia game. And I'm not so sure that Oregon's offense, this Oregon offense we faced, is close to that Georgia offense we faced a couple years ago. So, some to say there's room for improvement for this defense is an understatement. This was a defense that was allowing less than 7 points per game, and Oregon walks away with 32. And as we pointed out, 7 left on the field, almost 40 points. They couldn't stop anything. They looked inept. They looked confused. They looked out of place. I don't know what happened this week defensively. I don't know what Oregon did differently than what we were anticipating. I didn't see anything different from them than what I have seen from them in their first 5 games, which begs the question, what was the game plan all about and why couldn't we stop it? A lot of questions need to be asked to Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator, and those questions need to be asked by the head man, Ryan Day. He needs to start getting in there and saying, look, that was awful. If they hold, and I've been saying this, I said this a week ago, and I said it in the preview. They hold Oregon in the 20s, Ohio State wins. I was right. Ohio State scored 31 points. So if that defense just stops them on one of those drives that they scored a touchdown on, Ohio State wins that football game. So, yeah, really bad defensive play. Brian goes on 2 comments later and says, also bad news, we lost offensive lineman Simmons for the season. Yes, that's that's heartbreak. That hurts. That might have been one of the most important positions on this team. Not saying Jimmy Simmons is the best player on this team. He's not by any stretch of the imagination. But the drop off from him to Zen Mikowski, I think, is significant. And the development of Mikowski is going to be incredibly important for this team moving forward. If he's going to be the starting left tackle for the remainder of this season, he's going to have to be on that accelerated development program that the coaching staff talks about from time to time. Dan Murfield, when you come out in the second half and start blitzing and it works, then you back off. It makes absolutely no sense. They only blitzed a handful of times in this football game. They didn't come out blitzing like from the get-go. Um, they're just not getting a good pass rush right now. Well, let me rephrase that comment. They didn't get a good defensive pass rush in this game. Not enough to warrant rushing 4 guys consistently, which is what we saw. And then when the plan was made to bring extra guys with the offense that Oregon runs 5 wide majority of the time. You leave yourself vulnerable for the big play down the field. And that was what that was what I believe Jim Knowles and this defensive staff was worried about. And heaven help Denzel Burke, because vulnerable is not even the word I would describe what he was in yesterday's football game. Rick Kimball, another great game for Day. Ooh, so we have a fan who's being a little salty about Ryan Day. He's now 1-7, I think, in games against, is it top 10 or top 5? I can't remember. Not good. He does not have a good record when Ohio State goes up against the upper echelon in college football, meaning, i.e., Alabama, Georgia, the team up north when they're ranked high, and Oregon. He does not do well. He loses 1-7 or whatever that record is. It's not good, and it's now a monkey on his back, and he's going to have to wear the John Cooper 2.0 moniker for the remainder of the season from a lot of people, including people who co-host with me on this podcast. They're not going to let him get away with that L in Eugene, Oregon, because he once again is exactly who they say he is. He's John Cooper 2.0, can't win the big one. So, gonna have to deal with it. Charles Keene says the team as a whole didn't play well enough to win. It's that simple. Our number one NFL draft pick, Burke, especially Oregon, made it look like he was a high schooler instead of an NFL player. We didn't take them deep like they did us. Our receivers couldn't get open, and our offensive line got beat. Play calling at times questionable. It wasn't our night, period, all across the board. Defense couldn't stop them most of the game. Very disappointing. Yeah, see, you got people like Charles here who he's calling out Burke, rightly so. Um, it wasn't just a defensive thing. There was questions about the offense. Again, understand mismanagement of the clock especially down in the 2 minute the last 2 minutes of the game. Questionable about when he should have been using those timeouts. Um, and not knowing when the clock is starting at the end of the game. A lot on that offense. Why did we abandon the run when we did? Did it have everything to do with losing Jimmy Simmons and a banged up Tagra Shabola in the second half? Um, why aren't we attacking the seams of the field vertically more? I have a theory for that. It's because Will Howard doesn't have the arm strength to do it. Plus, with as much time as they have spent in the running concepts that Chip Kelly has brought, it is more spread you out sideline to sideline than it is trying to go deep. Did you not notice we hardly ever run any offensive sets with more than 2 or 3 wide receivers? We just don't do it. It's not a part of this offense anymore. We are not running the spread at all. Zero, none. It's not happening, which is why you're seeing Smith and Agbuka get the majority of receptions, is because we're just not running sets with more than 2 or 3 wide receivers in it. So, yeah, some interesting looks, but it's hard to argue with the offense when the offense is scoring in the 30s and you had a chance to win the game at the end there. So, our buddy Jay Thompson, been a fan of the podcast since the beginning. Burt kept Oregon in the game during the first half all by himself. Yeah, that was sad. Offense played better in the second half after they got more aggressive, except when they kept shooting themselves in the foot with penalties. Despite all of that, we still would have won if JJ hadn't got called for offensive pass interference at the end of the game and moved us out of field goal range. I expect to see them at least one more time this season and beat them. I'm with Jay on this. I think we play Oregon again. I really do. I think this they're this is exactly, I think, what Ohio State needed. It could be. I wouldn't say, obviously you don't want to lose, but in today's modern college football where you can take an L and you can still get to the playoffs, You can take an L. Ohio State just took an L. They can still win the conference. So that's not out of the question anymore either. So this this was an opportunity. This is now an opportunity for this coaching staff as well as this team to learn some very valuable lessons about what our weakness is and what we need to do to improve it. So there is a path to get to the Big Ten championship game, to win it, to be in the top four in the college football. Um, and there's there's a a world out there, a universe that exists where we play that team not once but two more times this season. That was also part of my predictions. Excuse me for the cough. Sharon Fleming. Unfortunately, I think the Buckeyes recruit very talented players, coaching staff among the best, but players seem to lack the fire and drive like other champion teams have. Disappointed tonight in defense, allowing too many big plays and mistakes in the last minute of the game. Sad for Coach Day. Sharon, this is one of the more talented football teams in all of college football. It's a $30 million roster. That being said, they did not live up to that. They did not play like that. And so when you're no longer a collegiate amateur football team, but you're, let's call it like it is, you're semi-professional now. That's what college football is with NIL. You open yourself up for scrutiny, and that's exactly what's happening to this team. And so they're going to have to take that on the chin. It is sad. It's a sad day for not only Coach Day but for the team. Mark Swick, a fan of the podcast for a long time. As you can see there, he's got the top fan diamond there. Mark says D was terrible all game. Why not use that last time out? Bad clock management. Except for being undefeated, all of the goals are still achievable. Yes, exactly, Mark. Thank you. Yeah, so you won't be an undefeated team, but you can still win the Big Ten. You can still uh, beat the team up north. You can still go to the college football playoff and get a bye, and you can go still win the whole doggone thing. So all the goals are still out there. And okay, they didn't run the table now, but it's still available to you to go do that. Thank you, Mark. Michael Francher, where was Ohio State's number one defense? It was out there playing, and they're no longer number one. That what it was, Michael. It's that's a defense that got exposed a little bit. Judy Kirk, defense did not show up. A few bad calls, no calls by refs. With that being said, they should have beat us by more than one. Yes, Judy, you're right. We could have lost that game by more than one. However, we could have also won that game. So that's why it's an instant classic. Frank Cooper, Denzel Burke lost the game for us. All right. He was one of the reasons why we lost the game. Yes. Was he the only reason? No. If he was the only reason why we lost this game, then he would have been replaced and should have been replaced and could be replaced, but we'll see about that. Scott Hardy, we will see Oregon again. I'm with you, Scott. I believe that. All right, Chris Wilds, my buddy Chris. You wanna tune in to tonight's live podcast at 8 p.m. Eastern for this man alone. I'm pretty sure he might blow a gasket. Defense was bad. Coaching was worse. Howard played a hell of a game. Okay. Defense was bad. Yeah, Chris is going to probably lose his mind tonight. So you're going to want to watch just for that. Chris Scott says Jim Knowles has some explaining to do. Yes, he does. Absolutely. Al says, hey, threw it out there, lost to a heck of a team. We'll see them in Indy. I'm with you, Al. Bobby McCormick. I miss McCord. Bobby. Bobby Mack. Do you really? There's no way that you could look at that game and tell me that McCord would have done any better. I don't see it. He wouldn't even taken off running. I promise you that. That last play, he would have thrown it in the stands or taken a intentional grounding or been sacked, more than likely. But you're welcome to your opinion, and I like you a lot, Bobby. So I'll listen to what you have to say. Charles Downs, too many mistakes. Yes, there was. Bruce has got an atomic bomb picture going off. He just says, blow it up. Just get rid of it all. And Joe says the secondary sucks. The secondary does not suck. They sucked this game. Portions of the secondary were not good. So that is that from Facebook. What do you think about those comments? Let me know in the comment section below what you think about those comments. We have more on Twitter that we can go to. And let me look real fast to see if they're worth pulling up. Yeah, why not? We'll go over here to Twitter real fast and pull those up as well. Let me see if I can't get my screen to share that as well. There we go. Okay, let's take a look at what they have to say on Twitter. The Brown County Buckeye says if they use it as a coachable moment, we will look back on this and see it as an important moment that helped to build a national championship team. Let it sting for the ride home and then get refocused on the next game. This is somebody who has been in athletics, who understands how motivating a loss can be for you and improve you. This is someone who understands it. So a lot of people have never been in a situation where they were a part of a team that was good with high expectations and you lose one or drop one. It can do one of two things. It can either destroy you from the inside out or it can make you stronger. This guy understands that. Great comment. All Buckeyes says Ohio State will be back and will be totally different game. Bet on it. Like your confidence. All Buckeyes. Appreciate that. Coach of the Pembroke Corgis. That's got to be a fantasy football team, right? What was the negative of Oregon having 12 men on the field? Oh, yes. I remember this comment. Good comment. They give up 5 yards for a penalty, but they contain the play and run the time off the clock regardless. Yes. Thank you. That needs to change. If that is legitimately what the rule says, and apparently it is, that is an advantage. And you know what? Tip of the hat to Dan Lanning and his coaching staff for knowing that and being willing to risk that in that moment. They took a timeout and did that on purpose. That was not a mistake to have 12 men on the field. They knew we can run some time off the clock. Hopefully they won't get a completion because we got another man in out there on defense. And if that's indeed what they did, and it's what I've heard this morning, it was that they did that on purpose. Hats off for them for knowing the rule and taking advantage of the rule. Smart. Kyle Matlock, defense was awful, off balance all evening. Yes, you are basically you are repeating what everybody's saying, Kyle. 4 orange. D is crap. Howard is an idiot. Day is typical Day. Crappy coach who didn't have his team ready. 4 orange was very upset 17 hours ago when they commented. Just everything's bad. How do you say Howard is an idiot? Because he took off running? What'd you want him to do in that situation? Understand that he had six seconds to get down and call timeout? I mean, that's really the only other option he had is to slide earlier and somehow call the timeout and have them call the timeout with 1 second left. And some are arguing that there still was. So the end of that game was chaotic, and as an official, I can understand how how you going to do that, especially when people are storming the field already. Almost an impossible situation at that point. I don't know calling Will Howard an idiot for that. I mean, I guess that maybe helps you feel better about yourself for that L. I don't know. Jeff, the defense was awful, but mental errors hit hard. We were in field goal range and got an unnecessary pass interference call. Then let so much time run off the clock. We can bounce back though, but I swear, if we drop in the ranking, I'll be upset. Excuse me, Jeff. We shouldn't drop too low. I can't see us dropping more than fifth or sixth, and it might already be out already as of when as of right now. Let me look it up real fast. Let's see if it's out. So it is out. Ohio State is now, well, where are they at here? Come on, show me the rankings. Let's see here. Texas is number one. Yes, I know. Oregon is two. Penn State is three, which is interesting. Uh, and Ohio State is fourth. So we dropped two spots. So we're ahead of Georgia. Interesting. Okay. I wasn't sure if we were going to get that nod ahead of Georgia still, but when you lose to the number three team on the road by 1 point, you shouldn't drop that much. So, okay. AP poll. All right. So we only dropped the fourth. There we go. All right. Moving on. Let's see. Ray Bob Ralph. Ryan needs to turn over clock management to someone that can tell time. All right, sure, Ray. I guess you could imply to Ohio State to be the official clock management coach. See if how that goes for you. Bryant Bay says it's on the D. You shouldn't lose scoring 31 points. I agree, Bryant. I agree with that. Will 44 and 33 make a play? Talk about Jack Sawyer and JT Tumulal. They answered that question so far in those games is no. They did not make a play, and we've been questioning that. They have not been as for fourth year seniors as much as they've played. They are not nearly the impact on the defensive ends as we expected them to be this season. Canterbury Roll 40 says everyone will blame Will Howard, and no doubt that last sequence was but Will Howard isn't responsible for the offensive pass interference or defensive inability to tackle or cover, meltdown all over the field. And so, yes, you are absolutely right. Hard to blame Will Howard for those things. Could Will Howard be better? Sure, he could have done some things differently and been better. Could the running game gone a little bit better yesterday? Sure. Could the passing game had a little bit more creativity to it? Absolutely. Could the defense actually get one more stop and allow the team to win the football game? Yeah. Could we have not gotten a penalty flag on that pass interference and kicked the field goal and won the game by 2 points? Sure. But this is kind of what I anticipated happening. I said early on in the season, Ohio State was going to lose one regular season game. I felt it was going to be in Eugene, Oregon against the Ducks. And we would come back and beat them in the Big Ten championship. Everything is setting up to be exactly what I thought it would be. Now that I've seen Ohio State play this season, I've seen Oregon play this season, I've seen a lot of teams across the board, most of the top 10 teams play multiple times now. Ohio State is legitimately one of the better football teams in college football. I think Texas, right now, looking at what they have done and accomplished, seems to be the best team in college football. But Ohio State's right there. Oregon's right there. Um, there's no reason to think that we can't make this thing happen. They're going to have to get better defensively, especially getting a pass rush and making sure that we don't give up so many stinking easy plays. We are not aggressive enough defensively. We were flying around the field causing turnovers, and then we kind of puckered up yesterday defensively and played not to lose instead of playing to win. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It shows that they're a little bit scared, at least on the play calling side of things. And some guys in the biggest spots, when the light's on, they don't show up. That's your moment. You think you're a first round draft pick? You didn't play like it. Denzel Burke is not. He's not who I thought he was. And I will I will be making an apology video because I've been tooting that guy's horn all off season, calling him the best cornerback in college football. And after that performance in Eugene, Oregon last night, he made me look like an idiot. So I'm going to have to eat crow, especially that fan base up north who I've been talking trash with about it, because that was awful. That was I don't know what was going on in his life beyond football that caused him to not be there in Eugene, but he mentally and physically just was not there. That is not the Denzel Burke we have grown accustomed to watching over the course of the last season and a half. That is not that guy. He ain't him. I'll tell you that much. Not yesterday. So, yeah, we need to do some soul searching. Some guys need to look in the mirror. And it starts at the coaching staff. It starts at top. It starts at the top. Ryan Day does not have his football team ready to play in the biggest moments. He doesn't. And I don't know that he's ready in the biggest moments. Okay? I don't know if he lacks confidence or he's in his own headspace a little bit, possibly. He needs to get on the phone. He needs to call Jim Tressel. He needs to call Urban Meyer. And he needs to say, look, how do I get my team better prepared for these big games? Because they aren't there. They're not. You don't spend 30 million on what is called the best roster and then verbally tell people we hope to be in this game in the fourth quarter and steal this thing. I'm sorry. No, Ryan, that should not be how you view a big game against Oregon. You should say, we expect to walk into Eugene, Oregon and stomp a mud hole in them. That's the confidence level Urban Meyer had that you just don't have, bro. You don't tell people we hope to be in this game in the fourth quarter and steal it away. Because guess what? That's the mentality your players are going to play with too. When I heard them say that on the telecast, that he said that to them, I about blew a gasket because that is not the mentality you should have as the head coach at The Ohio State University. And so, Ryan Day, you need to look in the mirror. Jim Knowles, you need to look in the mirror because that defensive game plan was awful. It was terrible with a capital T. And I like Jim Knowles. I've been a big Jim Knowles supporter. And Jim Knowles has forgotten more about coaching defenses than I'll ever know in my life. And I admit that. But that was not good. That was not good. And I don't know what communication was going on between Chip Kelly and that offense, but mismanagement of time, absolutely. Could he have called some better plays? Sure. But you don't score 31 points against a team like that on the road and think you're going to lose that game. You need to win that football game. Hard for me to blame the offense, but they need to look in the mirror too. And now they're going to have to find some answers on the offensive line because Jimmy Simmons is done for the season, starting left tackle. So that's where we're at. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the comments. I know if you're watching this and you're not a Buckeye fan, you're probably enjoying the some of the meltdown by the Ohio State fan base. Happens every time there's an L in this fan base. Happens in every fan base when there's L, except maybe the fan bases that expect to lose. I guess maybe they don't melt down because that's just who they are. Looking at you, Maryland and Purdue. All right, guys, give me a thumbs up on this video. Make some comments in the comment section below. Let's have a discussion about this. Let's go back and forth a little bit. You an Oregon fan, congratulations. Let me know what you thought of the game and the experience as an Oregon fan of Ohio State. Do you fully expect to play us again like I do? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out when you subscribe, and ring the bell and get notified when we go live. We'll be going live here in a few hours as we go live every Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll be going live every Thursday night for our call-in show as well. And we got some great videos coming your way and some new content coming your way, including a national show that we're going to be a part of. And so you're not going to want to miss these opportunities to catch us live and be a part of the chat and all those great things that are brought to you by the OHO podcast. All right, guys, until next time, be kind to one another. Remember, OHIO, go Bucks.